With Naruto going through Sage training, acquiring power strong enough for him to battle pain, what if we put him in the spot of Sasuke Uchiha going against the 5 Kage Summit? Would Naruto be able to withstand all the things that Sasuke withstood during this time? Please, if you're new to the channel, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment down below. I would greatly appreciate it. I know this video is kind of done a lot, but not too much. When I looked up for the video, it was done by some big names, but not a lot of them. But at the end of the day, we're gonna get my crack at it, and hopefully you learn something new. Let's get to it. A quick breakdown of Sage Naruto. I'm assuming that you clicking this video, you know quite about him already, but just giving a generalization of where he would scale or stand within the series. We see just in the midst of his training, Lord Fukusaku even said that Naruto, just off of not having froggy features, has surpassed Jiraiya Boy, given that that's a testament of being a true sage, because even Jiraiya wasn't really the greatest at Sage mode. Even though he was one of the only users that we saw with it, he still had froggy features, and quite a bit of them, with his hands turning into looking like a frog, having moles and bumps all over his face, and his face changing quite a bit when he went into Sage mode. But Naruto, just within the midst of training, didn't have none of these effects. Now that we have a baseline of where Naruto we even place, and this is just in training, and if this is not enough statement for you, we saw that when they pulled up to the Leaf Village, Lord Fukusaku literally said that Naruto has surpassed his predecessors, that being the people that we know that did have Sage mode, and we learned later in the war that Minato did have Sage mode. So Minato and Jiraiya appearing up right there beside Naruto would make sense. So that just more inserts that Naruto has surpassed Jiraiya within Sage mode. So using Jiraiya as a baseline, given that we have a good more sense of how strong Jiraiya was with Sage mode, given that he fought pain prior to Naruto, and we have some good backing of how strong Jiraiya is based off of a lot of other characters within the series. Database 1 says that Jiraiya was on par with Orochimaru and could even best him, with even Ebisu saying it would take another Sannin to beat another Sannin, that being Jiraiya and Orochimaru. And Orochimaru around this time, with all his jutsu, were seen as the most dangerous village enemies, stated in Fanbook 2, showing that even Jiraiya himself will be able to take on all the most powerfulest enemy to come to any village, given that the Orochimaru was able to fight equally with the third Hokage, the strongest Kage out of all the 5 Kage within every nation. And this Orochimaru around this time was actually pretty strong. He doesn't seem that way, given that this was part 1 Naruto and it wasn't as many flashy jutsus as we do see in Shippuden, but he was actually pretty broken, to the point where even Shigetsu said that Sasuke wouldn't have beat him if he had all of his jutsus and wasn't bedridden. And that's heavy Sasuke going against a weakened version of Orochimaru, saying that the Orochimaru that was, you know, in the first part of Naruto, that had all his jutsus and had all his capabilities, would have pretty much been able to take on heavy Sasuke, given that heavy Sasuke was able to solo all of Team 7. And you may be saying this is a big pull, but it's really not, given that Shigetsu would only remember that Orochimaru before his hands were sealed. He doesn't have a perception of how strong Orochimaru would be after his arms being unsealed, or how strong he would be if his arms were never sealed with training. He only has a memory of the Orochimaru that never got his arms sealed, and then he went to fight the third Hokage and came back with his arms sealed, and that's the Orochimaru that Shigetsu remembers. So to be honest, it's not really a pull to say that Orochimaru could have taken on heavy Sasuke and done pretty good. It would make sense, given that he would have the reanimation jutsu and just being a way better standing than what he was in the series. But we also do see that Orochimaru was able to fight a 4-tails Naruto, and this 4-tails Naruto was able to push Jiraiya to near death. And to be quite fair, we do not know how this fight went, but it does make sense that Jiraiya wouldn't be trying to kill Naruto here, nor would he pop out Sage mode, given that we know that Lord Fukusaku literally said Jiraiya hates the form. So I don't see why Jiraiya would A, use it against a student, and B, use a ugly form that he doesn't really need against a student again. So it really makes sense. So if anything, that's really a feat, given that the 4-tails Naruto was doing pretty okay against Orochimaru and was able to pretty much outpower Orochimaru. Just that Orochimaru has like a lot of really good hats. Jiraiya just in base was able to get this Naruto calmed down and be able to subdue him. But you could argue that the 4-tails Naruto that Orochimaru went against could be a stronger one, given that due to the seal getting weaker over time, more 9-tails chakra is leaking out, making it more potent when it comes to the transformations. So you could argue that the 9-tail transformation Naruto that Jiraiya fought was a weaker version of the one that Orochimaru fought. But either way you slice the pie, Jiraiya was doing this in base, while Orochimaru was doing a good job, but yet still he was struggling a little bit. But we do know that this Orochimaru was suffering from the body that he was in, given that it was almost time to transfer bodies, and again his arms were still sealed as well. Now getting to the fight with Jiraiya versus Pain, there's a lot of given things within there that would directly scale to Naruto, given that that Jiraiya, just off of going against a couple pains, needed to retreat, and if he keeps fighting he will be killed. Albeit he didn't have intel on the pains, he did deduce that they do all have a shared link of view, and he did also deduce that one of them absorbs jutsus and the other one is a summoning type, and the other one didn't display his jutsu just quite yet, but he just pulled souls out. Jiraiya didn't figure that one out, but he pretty much had 2 of the abilities pegged, and just off of fighting 3 pains he needed to get up out of there. But versus Naruto coming on panel and completely one-shotting a pain straight out the gate, and not to mention that Jiraiya did get a kick on one pain straight out the gate as well, and it really didn't do nothing to that pain. The pain just got up, and we didn't see the King of Hell path anywhere to be able to heal it, and we don't know if that even happened, but I'm assuming that it didn't. The pain just got back up, and the other pain just said not bad. Given that Nagato was talking, Nagato just said not bad, but Naruto was completely able to obliterate the Ashra path like it was nothing in just one hit. There's other given statements as well, like Shikaku literally saying that Naruto's in a league of his own with, you know, people like Might Guy, people like Kakashi still beating him within the village. Even though Kakashi was dead at this point, Shikaku wouldn't have known this at this time, given that they were at completely different spots within the battlefield. But if you want to assume that he did know that Kakashi was dead, that is possible, but we do know that he does know that Might Guy is alive, given that Might Guy was off on a mission and he still thought that Naruto was in a league of his own and will just get in the way if they help. But you could argue that he was just kind of considering the people that he knows is there and not somebody like Might Guy with all the 8 gates. But again, that's what Shukaku said, him being one of the smartest, if not the smartest person within the village, even over his own son Shikamaru. Before getting into the battle with the 5 Kage Summit, one thing I just want to say is Naruto will only have Ma and Pa but no other toes. I think it really shouldn't be explained, because that would just kind of make it boring, have to incorporate for, you know, giant toes being there and they'll just, you know, be smashed in the building, and it wouldn't really even be the 5 Kage Summit anymore. Why will give Naruto the 3 clones that he had prepared, because if Naruto does drop out of Sage mode, to be honest, the fight's over with anybody that he runs into during this 5 Kage Summit. But right now he's going to be in Sasuke's shoes, so the first people that we see Sasuke run into is the Raikage. And one of the things about Naruto Sage mode is at this point I don't think it is at the caliber potentially to be able to fight the Raikage. We saw later in the war a clone had that necessary sensory, but you could argue that this with Naruto, you know, being in the first stages of Sage mode, it wouldn't be likely that he would have that same level of degree of sensory to be able to dodge the 4th Raikage speed. But again, it's possible, but I don't think from his first usage he would have it. But if you want to argue it, and just for the sake of the video, he could still have it, given that we saw that the Raikage can be dodged. Sasuke was able to do it with his Chidori Imp as well as his Sharingan, but I digress. But assuming that Naruto could react to his hits, would he be able to break through the lightning cloak of the Raikage? And I think absolutely. In fact, I do believe that a Rasen Shuriken would pretty much just take the 4th Raikage out the fight if it does land, but that's a very, very big if, given that we saw the 3rd Raikage should be slower than the 4th was able to dodge one from a KCM1. It would be hard to get Sage Mode Naruto to land on the Raikage. That one would be the biggest problem. Not to mention Naruto would have to be worrying about Darui and C as well. He wouldn't have none of the help like Shugetsu or Jugo. He would only have Ma and Pa, but one thing that we did see was Pa was able to fight against a Sage Mode Naruto while in training, so you could argue that that would be helpful, given that Pa could literally go and start throwing hands with some of the opponents, and not only that, they have the Genjutsu Frog Song as well. But given this first usage of Sage Mode, Naruto can only summon about 2 to 3 clones for the battlefield, given that he has 2 clones set aside because of the Sage nature energy being gathered. So Naruto wouldn't be able to just spam shadow clones at this point, but he could make clones to be able to help out with the onslaught as well. So it's really determining about how you view Naruto's sensory ability at this point in the series, because I do think without a shadow of a doubt, later in the war, his sensory capabilities with Sage Mode not being nerfed down, you know, with having clones gathering nature energy while he's on the battlefield, it's a little bit different there. But here he is still a little bit nerfed from some of the drawbacks of what he's doing with this Sage Mode. So it really depends on how your views is. If you think that Naruto's sensory capabilities is good enough for him to move out of the way of some of the Raikage's hits, and he's able to get a well-placed Rasen Shuriken on him, then he could get past the Raikage. But if you don't think he could, then he stops here. Now, there is a statement in the fan books that the 3 Sannin are equal to the 5 Kage, and that means that individually each Sannin should scale to, you know, all the Kage. Now, of course, the Raikage could have got stronger from part 1 up until, you know, Shippuden, but going off of that genuine statement, that means that Naruto by upscale should be stronger or be able to take on the Raikage, given that we've already determined that Naruto is stronger than the Sage Jiraiya before this. But again, the Raikage could have gotten stronger, and we do know that the Raikage would be faster. I don't want to too much wink Naruto sensing, thinking he could just fight anybody, but we did see how good his century is in the war. It's just that that's a different type of Naruto with use of Sage Mode multiple times versus this first usage. But again, if you think that his century is good enough to be able to dodge the Raikage, I can see him getting past him. Now Gaara ends up breaking in and ends up saving the Raikage from Naruto, or the Raikage ends up being dead with, you know, Gaara coming in. And I do believe that Naruto would be able to get past Gaara. I don't think it would be too much of a problem, getting that he already knows about everything that Gaara can do, the Saiyan armor and all these good things. And we saw with Naruto fighting against Pain, some of the IQ plays that Naruto had was actually pretty good as well. Him using smoke bombs to be able to disorient Pain, as well as being able to use his Rasengan in conjunction with his clones. I do believe that Naruto would be able to get past Gaara. You could argue that Gaara could end up getting Naruto with his sand, but I highly doubt it, given that a even weaker Sasuke, after fighting the Raikage that was injured, was able to still combat against the sand for a little while. But albeit his Susanoo did get bigger and stronger as well, but it's also nearly implied that this Sage Mode Naruto, or Sage Mode Naruto, would be over the Sasuke that was going to the 5 Kage Summit, given that it was stated by Zetsu that he states that Naruto is stronger than Sasuke. So I do believe that this healthy Naruto, if he hasn't run out of Sage Mode, or if he's used one of the clones that he had in backup, would be able to take on Gaara and get past him as well, and then he will move on right to the Hall of the Kages. Now this is where I think that Naruto realistically would stop. I'm not even gonna lie, we saw that Sasuke pretty much didn't get past it either. He got saved literally 2 times within that span. We saw that he was suffering from the drawbacks of the EMS, and then after that he ended up getting healed by Zetsu, and then after that he went back into the room almost getting atomized by Inoki's particle style, and then Obito swooped in and saved him. So it's just no way, shape or form I see Naruto getting past all these Kage, especially when you have Inoki's particle style, especially with his weighted Jutsu that can just lie in Naruto. You could argue that the frog song would be able to do something, even with the logic from the Mizukage, that I don't see hitting Naruto, especially if he just dodges it. But the mist that she used that was melting the Susanoo, unless Naruto gets out of the room, I don't see anything helping Naruto against that, because no matter how durable his body is, it literally was melting the Susanoo. So it was literally melting chakra constructs, which is just the Susanoo. So I don't see Naruto being able to withstand that. It's really would be a book pull to say that Naruto would get out of it, because again, his Sage Mode has a limit. It would be different if his Sage Mode didn't have a limit. I could see him getting past this too, because he could just pretty much spam Rasengan, given that he would have Mind Power on his shoulder, just siphon in Sage Mode for him. But that's not the case. He uses a couple Rasengans and his Sage Mode drops, and then he'll have to summon the other clone. So just a lot of more things that go into this, but for the sake of the video, I want to talk about him going against Danzo. So let's assume that Naruto some way somehow escaped from that and ran into Danzo. Now going against Danzo will be pretty interesting, given that Naruto theoretically should outscale Danzo, but will he be able to beat Danzo before his Sage Mode runs out? Because we know that Danzo has one of the most broken abilities in the series, the Izanagi, which pretty much just rewriting his death. So Naruto first and foremost wouldn't know what that is. He would see the Sharingan arm, but wouldn't know why Danzo isn't dying. I don't think he would know at all unless Danzo explained it to him. You could argue that he would, but I doubt Danzo would, given that again, this is somebody that isn't a Uchiha, and again, this is the Nine-Tailed Fox. I feel like he would try to not give Naruto no intel on anything, because that would just theoretically help Naruto be able to beat him, potentially, given that, I mean, Danzo's going against the Jinchuriki of the Nine-Tailed Fox. I think he would try to snuff Naruto out as quick as possible. Heck, I probably would even think he would try to use Susui's eye on him to try to get him under his control and have the Jinchuriki under control as well. But assuming that Naruto could kill Danzo enough times, which I think is possible, but just is it enough times before his last clone runs out, given that he used a clone per battle, because his Sage Mode isn't going to last forever? It's really a big if you think that Naruto could actually last longer than Danzo, and I don't really think he could. We saw that Sasuke barely did and got healed by Karin mid-fight as well, and also did get a little help from her, but was using his Genjutsu. His Susanoo did get a big amp as well during that fight because of his hatred. So it'll be a really big stretch, me personally, that Naruto would be able to last as long as Danzo could when it comes to the Izanagi, especially with Naruto exerting chakra against Danzo. It would be really hard to say that his Sage Mode would keep up. But then again, I digress. Now you may be wondering, well, how could Naruto take on Pain but not be able to beat none of the people at the 5 Kage Summit where nobody there solo should be able to beat Pain? Well, the intel that Naruto had was key factoring in why he was able to combat Pain. Not to mention he did have all the giant toes with him, again helping him fight, as well as Mind Power with the Genjutsu Frog Song. And not only that, Pain was not actually trying to kill Naruto. We saw as soon as he captured Naruto, he said capture complete, and then when he pinned Naruto down, he literally started talking. And then even when he was fighting Naruto's V2 transformation and Naruto going through all the transformations with the 9 tails, he still wasn't trying to kill Naruto. Then it even said when he went to his 8 tails form that he was going to display the meter that he created. And not only that, we got to understand that Naruto had some insane plot armor. Not only did Pain beat the first stage of Naruto with the Sage mode, Naruto then went into the 9 tail state because of Hitsuna, and then Pain still was able to subdue that Naruto. And then Naruto got another pretty much amp slash mental amp from his father, and then went back into Sage mode, and then had a chance to prep time, and then Pain was still able to fight him. And we're not acting like Pain just has infinite chakra, and even still Pain was able to hang in there. So it's a lot more things that went into that fight that why Naruto was able to win. If Naruto didn't have no toes or anything like that and just had his clones prepared with no intel, Naruto most definitely wouldn't have won that fight, to be honest. But he didn't win it to begin with, so him not having no intel, him not having the tools there, Armand Pod just having his Sage mode and his clones prepared, pretty much just like this situation, I don't think that Naruto would have won. It's not really to say that Naruto was just so strong, it's just that the situation at that point was really good. But here, if he fought any of these people one-on-one, I do believe that he would win. It's just the way the battle is set up with the gauntlet going on, it's just a lot more difficult for somebody like Sage Naruto at this point in the story, given that he has the 5-minute limit, as well as having the drawbacks of having his clones preparing Sage mode, because he wouldn't be able to just spam clones like he does in all of his fights without Sage mode. He states verbatim that just because they're gathering nature energy, when he tries to summon too much clones, it disperses those clones that are gathering the nature energy. So if he wants to keep clones gathering nature energy, he has to keep his clones to a minimum, so he wouldn't be able to just spam clones. So it really just kind of handicaps him going through this gauntlet style of fighting. But with that being said, if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment down below. Again, there was a more overdone type of video, but I always wanted to talk about this, and I hope you guys agree with some of the points that I laid out. I tried to be as genuine as possible and didn't want to amp Naruto to an insane degree because of his sensory. I kind of tried to keep it as level grounded as possible, because I don't want to say that he beats everybody because he can sense good, when again the sensory that we saw from Naruto was from a stronger, better trained with Sage mode Naruto that wasn't being drawn back by having clones prepared as well, and just pretty much had a better usage of Sage mode within that time. But again, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment down below. Love you all. We out.